You guys say when?
When?
Okay.
It's the 11 o'clock budget hearing from Facilities Management, so take it, Bill.
Okay. Bill Kroll, Facilities Maintenance Director, 2020 budget. Looking, we got video coming. The priorities from the memorandum that I sent you guys with the budget, the northwest parking lot, kind of starting with that. Jim Crowell has been working with Mohan Construction and their attorneys and Cousins Concrete and their attorneys, and we're still kind of out there in the wind. Hopefully that'll get resolved sometime in the future, but we are doing some other things on the priority list. We are getting the exterior of the building cleaned and waterproofed, and thus far that is going very well. No big surprises as they've been digging through the caulk and the old mortar. So we were kind of discussing yesterday, could we get through this one without a change order? If it keeps going this way, we might do that. So that would be great.
So they have not run into any issues that we're running into?
Thus far, then they've been working primarily in that northwest parking lot area.
Right.
They have not caught any surprises. Everything's coming out the way they thought it would. There's no damage back behind things, so
Oh, good.
that's great news.
That is good news.
Let's see. Kind of looking at that space planning thing, I've got that on the capital outlay for 2023 out at the North Annex primarily. Haven't really moved forward on that, and that a lot of the different departments will come to me, can we move in here, can we move in there? It's like, no, that's not your space to just squat and claim, so that will be the decision of you guys to decide who's going to go where and when they go. So kind of holding off on that. Helping the courts through their courtroom renovations, and we are pretty doggone ADA compliant, I would think, especially with the judges, and I can't anticipate us ever seeing 4 or 5 judges confined to a wheelchair. So I don't know going forward how much court administration is wanting to continue to do something like that, but maybe for the jury areas and the witness boxes to get those things done, but I don't think we need to go to that expense of raising benches and setting up for potential lifts and things for them.
Okay.
Though there's a possibility, I suppose, you could have a dozen judges all in a wheelchair, but I think we could deal with that on a one-off basis if we needed
Okay.
to. And we're finally got all 3 of the new air conditioning units installed out at the North Annex. That's going well. We should see a overall utility reduction at the North Annex of 10 to 15% probably once all that system's commissioned and up and running. The new boilers will be much more efficient than what we've had over there for heating, and the 3 new air conditioners, a lot more efficiency out of those than the units that were from the early 80s that were in there originally. So besides not worrying about it going out, we should see some utility savings as we move forward.
We'd had problems with HVAC in North Annex for years, and I remember, putting together with duct tape and everything else we've done up there. So I'm glad we were.
Yeah,
able
we're
to-
moving on that one, and thus
Okay.
far, according to PCI, we did that on a design build with PCI and Scott McKinley at PKMR Engineering, and they're telling me that that one will come in probably under the budget.
Oh, good.
So that felt good too. So
Good.
no big surprises there thus far.
Good.
Going to the day-to-day budget stuff, costs have gone up on some things. They don't go down on anything, it doesn't seem like, but we've been able to keep our budget essentially flat since I started through some good contracts we've got, like with Veritiv on the paper products. That's been a significant savings, not only for our department, but for countywide. I visited with Linda Kelly this morning at Parks and Rec, and they're anxious to get that one renewed. That comes up in August. They said they used the heck out of it, and they've been getting a good savings out of it too. So, and Arment Custodial, though we've tripped a few times with them, their contract is much less expensive than some of the ones we've had in the past, and they're performing a little bit better each and every day. And they're moving forward with getting some more staff for us. They've had some problems getting some of their staff cleared through the security things, but I'm confident. I think we've got a pretty good company there. They did some good floor work for us at a real reasonable price. So I'm anxious to see if they can continue to keep their price low and competitive like it is and move forward with them. That's been a big savings for us the last couple of years. So, other than that, we're just kind of flat on everything. If you have any questions on that kind of stuff, I'd be more than willing to visit about the different line items. Okay.
Any questions about that?
I would just make a comment on the Arment. You did mention that that's our cleaning service. You mentioned that it has been some savings for us, but I also think just as important is that I think we have had much less in
Headaches.
the way of complaints and problems for our employees
Right.
and for the public that comes into the courthouse. I think that the state of the courthouse is in a much better place, like say, for the public and for our employees. So I think that is just as
Yeah.
important
It is.
as the cost savings.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate you bringing that up. But they've done a good job. And is it great? But probably not. But you get what you pay for to a certain degree. And when you're only cleaning 3 days a week, there's going to be hey, somebody missed my wastebasket. Well, it's Tuesday. It's not Wednesday. So we do run into those from time to time. But the staff's been real supportive of them too. So.
Good.
And the day porter crew, I think, has done an excellent job of being around and taking care of the restrooms and keeping us going every day. So,
Are you going to talk about your goals for the coming year?
yeah, sure am. We want to continue to use the systematic approach that we have to facilities maintenance. When I started a little over 4 years ago, we were primarily, the facilities maintenance crew was the courthouse and North Annex, and we've acquired some other properties that we have to take care of. We've got the old fire station, we've got Manor Conference Center, which kind of continues to be a headache. The elections office, which isn't too bad, and we like to support the health department quite a bit. Charles McPeak, just as a matter of fact, last week had taken some time off, and he's got a helper who couldn't do some of the things that Charles needed done while he was gone. And I visited with Charles Monday, and I said, let me know when you're planning to take off, and we can send somebody over there to stop by and make sure everything's going good. And if he's tripped up, call us. We can come over and bail him out too. So he's kind of a younger guy, so doesn't have the experience of some of our staff. So we like to go ahead and support as many departments as we can. And that's probably more so with Evan Meyer, our electrician, than anybody. I think as a taxpayer in this county, I think that's been a really good move for Shawnee County to hire an electrician to do so much of that stuff in-house. Evan works with Public Works, with solid waste, with IT, with elections, and is saving us a significant amount of money if we weren't farming that stuff out. So, and it's been good, I think, for interdepartmental cooperation all the way across the board. I think we see a little bit more of, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine type stuff from every department, whether it's Parks and Rec. Evan did a lot of work out at Lake Shawnee Golf Course over the winter for them when they were revamping their restrooms out there. They didn't have to farm any of the electrical out. Evan took care of it. So kind of proud of that. We're able to keep him busy here at the courthouse, but at the same time give support wherever we can. And early on, that was a little bit more problematic because everybody wanted him now, and we're able to keep him scheduled now, and everybody's like, well, yeah, he's going to come, so we can wait a week or we can wait 2 weeks, and that's working out well for us.
Good.
Working slow but steady and trying to get this done through our operational budget on replacing the lever set or lock sets with lever sets for ADA compliance throughout the courthouse. Just been kind of pecking away at it and keeping it off the capital list. And they're about $120 a lock, but we just keep knocking them out and knocking them out. And we've got 2 floors almost completely done now. Actually, almost 3 floors almost completely done. And it's been no major impact to anybody, so I feel real good about that. Been working with Armin on the quality assurance tools for the custodial stuff, and that's trying to get some of my staff to be more proactive with the Armin folks, whether it's Tom here or John Telshaw at the North Annex, to make sure that we're doing the checks that we should be doing so that we can report to Armin and say, hey, you missed this or you missed that, which has improved, I think, to a certain degree on the number of complaints that we have received. They've gone down because I think we're being more proactive, and people aren't just saying, well, I'll just complain to Armin. So I think that's working well for us.
Good.
I'd still like to get one more staff member into Westar's building operator certification program. Westar hasn't offered that for a couple of years, so I anticipate in 2020 they probably will have another class on that. Whether that's John Telshaw, or Don Bell, or Brent Smith, I don't know at this point who I'd probably pick, but we need to get one more through there. Tom Randalls has been through it. It's an excellent program and teaches the guys a lot about energy savings. And it's a low cost. It's $500 for the 8 classes, and it's a good education experience for the staff. One of the big things that I think we need to make sure of for the courthouse is completing an engineering study to take a look at maybe recommissioning this building. The air handling units are all pushing their 60th birthday. The steam traps, and some of that is in my capital outlay request. We're losing money energy-wise by not getting this building set up where it really is comfortable, and we're getting the air where we need it and the heat where we need it. The top priority thing that I put on capital outlay this year was the alert and building control system, which is the same system that corrections just replaced. They got it apparently at the same time when they did the ESCO to get the equipment and things in the building automation system. Betty's office, for example, the controls are telling the VAV box to open, but the old VAV box didn't want to open, so we had to go up there and manually crank it open to give her a little air conditioning. And we run into that in this building very, very frequently. And most of it is just the age of the stuff and the type of controls that's on it. We have a mix of pneumatic and digital. The old pneumatic stuff does not really want to work real well anymore. And some of it is, there's a little rust on it. Sometimes a little WD-40 gets it going again, but sometimes it doesn't, and we physically got to just kind of crank things open manually. And that's no way to keep your building comfortable, and you can end up wasting a lot of energy if you do it that way. So as we go forward, I think it's really important that we take a good look at this building. This is where all the money's at, is this building. So if we can get some things done there, I think we'll be in a whole lot better shape. And I continue to work on the standard operating procedures and try to expand those. Got things now where the guys know exactly what they're supposed to do at any given time. And if there's a question, they grab the book, and here's our procedure for dealing with it, and we move forward. And that's the big goals that I have as we move forward. Again, probably the biggest one that I think we need to deal with is this building. And if we can get some kind of an engineering study and get started on upgrading the air handling units, getting through the steam traps, because when you're not holding your steam back to actually heat the building, it's leaking through, and you're making steam for no reason. It's just blowing on through the system, going back to the boiler instead of staying in somebody's area and getting them warm. And 50-plus years on steam traps have never really been gone through and had the seats and things checked. I mean, we do some as they come up when we know they're really, really bad, but we really need to get through every one of them in this building, and that's something we're going to have to farm out because we just don't have the manpower to do that. We're a pretty small department, so. And that's really my goals for 2020. I don't have a really exciting budget presentation, guys. It's
All right, Thank you, Bill. Questions for Mr. Kroll?
No.
Where's the boiler located? How have I missed that?
Sub-basement.
Sub-basement,
It's,
okay, that's how,
Directly east of the EOC.
okay.
Yeah. And the boilers and the main equipment down there that was replaced back in '08, '09 with the ESCO, they're in good shape. I feel real confident about the chillers, feel confident about the boilers and the main pumps down there that they did change. But I don't know if what happened back in '08 was, did we not want to go forward with a little bit more that wasn't, was there enough savings to get into the air handlers? The big stuff got picked up, and that is important, getting rid of 40 and 50-year-old chillers and 40 and 50-year-old boilers. But the air handlers that those boilers and chillers go to are still pushing 60 now. So it's getting a little bit trickier.
And remind me again, where are we with the front steps and the railing?
The RFP on that, Michelle should get that sent out, I believe, yet this week.
Okay.
And then we'll take a look and see how we can get that done. The Slemons' feeling is we'd be better off to just shut that whole entrance down and maybe move everybody to the west side. Need to double check with security, checked with a couple of them. They said, yeah, we can move the x-ray machine and all that stuff over to that entrance while they're doing that and just close it and have everybody come in that west side. It'll be tricky. People will probably be grumpy, but
Are they gonna tear the stairs out and just rebuild them?
yeah.
That's.
The idea would be get the steps completely out, send them to the, I don't know what kind of firm you call them, but like a monument company they'll reheat them, which puts a ripple back into them. And so you got better footing on them so they're not so slippery. Because one of the bad things that happened in the '08, '09 ESCO when they did replace the boilers and chillers, there used to be a sidewalk and step heating system that went from the steam boilers out front, so you could just flip a switch, melt everything off. In the winter, they ripped all that up when they were going in and out the east side, so the pipes, and they just abandoned it in place. And I've checked with the engineers, and they said after they've been buried for 10 years like that, forget it, you're not gonna hook them back up. So we lost that system. It's unfortunate, so we've got to throw ice melt out there, and ice melt can be kind of slippery itself because it gets kind of oily, and we want to make sure those steps, people can at least get a grip on them. So,
Very good.
I
Yes,
may add a little bit to that. Depending on the final cost for the building cleaning and sealing that Western is doing, if we don't have any change orders or, surprises on that, we hope to have enough money left in an old COP to, and depending on what that comes in at, we hope to maybe have enough money to cover the front entrance and those steps from that old COP money. But depends on what the RFP comes in at.
yeah.
So.
Which Slemon's estimate would be right around $100,000, and so we should have enough to do that in that old deferred capital. That's the hope. But as Commissioner Cook pointed out, we've got other needs too, maybe for some of that deferred capital. So, it's pick and choose your poison in some cases. So it's.
Now, our ADA access to the front door, is it from both sides?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, comes up both sides. Slemon's has verified the 12-to-1 ratio, and there's one little spot that's probably not 12-to-1 on the west side, and we think we can take that out with just a little sidewalk work there. So, but we're in pretty good shape. ADA-wise, I think we're in good shape for this building. If you were going to build it new, like Johnson County's building a new courthouse, I heard, and I don't think there's enough money in Shawnee County to do that, but, so we got to keep this old nice building going, because we're not going to get another one this good without spending a huge amount of money. So, and we got a good courthouse. Over the last few years, we've recarpeted most everything in this building. It's gotten a paint job, some facelifts. feel pretty good about this place. It's looking good.
Very good.
So,
Did you have anything else, Betty?
Can you talk just a little bit about your capital improvement
Yeah,
items? You kind of talked about them a little bit, but now like on this, building improvements, modifications due to space planning. I know that we've heard on the budget hearing several people that are talking about space. You have 250,000 here for that remodeling?
yeah, and that's kind of a ballpark figure, just not knowing what we might put into some of those spaces and what people's desires and needs would be. And just based on experience, when we did a little bit of work, when we moved solid waste up out at the annex, I mean, you're in the middle of it and suddenly it's like, yeah, and we want a door over there and there's another 2,000 and we want this over here. Well, there's another 5,000 and it all starts adding up pretty quick. So, you know, I think we need a good plan. We'd need an architect involved, I think, to make sure we're moving down the right path. Whether that's Falk, who actually did the space planning, or a different architect, I would probably prefer a different architect as we move forward than Falk. Not say anything bad about Brian, but I think there's better firms for figuring that out.
You also put it in 2023.
Yeah.
That was just, was there a reason for that date or just arbitrary?
Just pretty arbitrary. I didn't know how fast we might want to move forward. Some of it, you know, we could certainly do in phases a little bit each year. But the money that I figured on that would be for 2023. Because we've been kind of messing with space planning for a couple of years now and really haven't moved forward. Though the other departments see these vacant areas and they're like, oh gosh, we can move in tomorrow if you just let us. And it's more space than they actually need in most cases. So I think if we get people consolidated and efficient, it's a whole lot better than, gee, go ahead and take the BCC chambers because it'll be a great office for you. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. And I think that's how it's always been handled in the past is, you know, if it's vacant, somebody moves in and nobody says anything about it, and there you go. So the most important one that's facing us right now for 2020 would be that control system for this building. Since corrections is just basically went belly up on them this year, and they had, I think, get into contingency to get some money to replace that hardware and software that supports that system. Ours probably isn't far behind. We've had a couple of glitches with the computer software on it, which isn't cheap, and IT was able to keep us going. And it's a little spooky, and if it goes, we're just going to be kind of dead in the water, so I'd rather plan for it.
On this one, you have a project that says courthouse steam trap and AHU repairs and modernization.
Yeah.
Is that what, I don't know what
AHU is the air handling units.
Okay.
So
okay.
the way the main systems work in this building is, you know, you either send chill water and or steam up to the air handling units, and depending on the area, if it wants some heat in the time of year. In the fall, you can throw a little heat on people and still have the air going. We can keep our air conditioning system running effectively until you get freezing temperatures overnight, and then the cooling towers being water cool condensing, you got to drain everything down and say we're buttoned up for the winter. And then you get a couple of warm days and people go, gee, I wish we had some air, but it is what it is. I mean, if it was an air-cooled system like most homes, you don't have that problem. If you get a hot day, you just turn it on. It's a bigger process here. But the air handlers themselves, giant fans that, you know, are moving the air through the building on each floor. The filter systems on them have never been upgraded. And back in the 60s, the main type of filter they used was a screen filter. And basically it's a whole bunch of chicken wire laid over and over and over again, grabbing whatever big stuff it can. The little dust tends to get through those. We've put some pleated filters in that grab a little bit more of that, but the coils are definitely dirty, and you got to really get in there and clean those. There's only so much our maintenance staff can do as far as getting in there with the equipment and the abilities that we have to try to clean those. The bearings and things on them are in good shape. I mean, you know, it's heavy equipment. It can last a long time. but we really need to get through those air handlers to make sure that we're getting air to everybody that needs it, heat to everybody that needs it, along with controlling from the variable air volume boxes, which is the problem that you had in your area, making sure those open and close, because those variable air volume boxes have a cold deck side and a hot deck side. So there's a duct coming from the cold deck on the air handler and the hot deck. So if you want heat, you should be getting opening from the hot deck. The cold deck would be closed. If you need cold, you get it that way. So it tries to mix it sometimes even in the box to give you the ideal temperature that you want as a discharge into that area. When those are hung up, you got problems. And that gets into the control system as well as the air handlers. The steam traps, we don't want to waste any of the steam going through there. And the steam traps themselves, we can probably keep pecking away at them like we have been. I would just feel more comfortable of getting a contractor in here and saying, okay, hey, start on the fourth floor, start getting through them. And that's work you really need to do before you fire up your heat. So, because they can't work on them when the steam's flying. It gets a little too dangerous for them.
Okay, anything, Betty?
No, thank you. I just want to make
Okay.
sure I understood
Yeah.
this, because I didn't know what AHU stood for.
Yeah, facilities like all other departments, we have our own acronyms that we deal with,
Thank you.
VAV and AHU. And one of the things also that I had on there was Mainer Lighting. The hotel, I know in negotiations with Jim on the lease that we're trying to extend with them, one of the things they threw out at Jim, that Jim mentioned to me, and that's why I put this in here, was, and I think I had 75,000 because we had a quick estimate of a couple electrical companies looking at the lighting that was over there. They'd be willing to pay the utility bill over there if we swapped it all out to LED, which there's a pro and a con to that. I mean, if the hotel gets the benefit on the lower utility, but we'll be bearing the cost of the LEDs. So, should it happen? Yeah, and LED technology has really come a long way in the last 10 years. When they first came out, it was almost cost prohibitive to put some of that stuff in. Now the savings you get from an LED is definitely worth it. So if you're not using them at home, you probably should. It's good lighting, and it lasts a lot longer than the standard stuff that we've been using for the last 50 years. So, and roofing, just kind of a couple things I wanted to keep out there in front, because things like roofing and parking lots, we tend to forget about. We've got most of the parking lots around the courthouse all done, and we're in good shape there. But we have a couple of lots, elections might be needing something over the next few years, might need something at some of these other sites. So I want to keep something in there, almost like a placeholder, to say, okay, we need a roof or we need a parking lot. Let's get it fixed before we're saying, oh gosh, and I got to come in here and ask for contingency money to do it. So that's kind of how I planned it and put it together over the next 5 years on that capital outlay. I know you guys have some tough decisions to make because there's only so much of the pie that you can give to anybody, but I got to put in for what I can get, so
Okay,
that's what I try to do.
all right.
Happy to answer any questions that you guys have, so.
Seeing none, we are dismissed or adjourned, and we will reconvene at 1 o'clock. for the
Okay,
Next budget.
thank you, guys.
Thank you, Bill.
Do you guys ever get tired of this?
No comment.
Oh, no comment. That's an honest answer for sure.
Anything?
Nope.
All right. See you after lunch.
Yep.
My mom